Yes, Gooners. Welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Analysed, a series in which we break down the latest Arsenal fixture. And boy, what a game it was. It had it all, the late drama. Arsenal versus Wolves did not let us down. And we'll be breaking it all down in today's video. If you do go on to enjoy it, please do drop a like. And I'm aiming for 1,200 subs, less than 50 away. So if you do go on to enjoy and you're new around here, please do consider subscribing. It hugely helps me out. But let's waste no more time at all. And a good place to start would be the lineup before I give my thoughts. Now, there were a couple of surprises, if I'm being honest with you. I think over the last few weeks, I've said that Tomiyasu is going to feature, I think in the last 3 games now. Cedric, he stepped in and done a fantastic job. Yesterday, it was touch and go. There were some occasions where I felt like he was pressured and the quality of his football wasn't too great. But he'd done the job nonetheless, and he's done absolutely fantastic over the last few weeks. Another one that surprised me as well was Emile Smith-Rowe. Wasn't even included in the lineup. I was a little bit worried that it might be a little bit more significant, but it was confirmed that it's just illness, not COVID related. And we saw the return of Martinelli, another player who's been in some fine form of late. Just doesn't stop running, does he? But generally speaking, as we go through all of these videos, and as I've said many times, when the whole squad is fit and available, it really does pick itself given its size. So across the rest of the park, no real surprises for me. One thing that Arteta absolutely nailed yesterday, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will also agree, was his substitutions, barring the Tavares one on the 92nd minute for Kieran Tierney. That felt like more of a false change. And Kieran Tierney did look extremely uncomfortable. Cramp, hopefully nothing more than that. Hopefully he will be available for the next game. But in terms of his subs elsewhere, bringing Pepe on for Martinelli, who is probably a little bit tired. He's played the most football he's ever played in an Arsenal shirt of late. And then Nketiah on for Cedric. So he went really attacking. And Arteta has said recently that Pepe's attitude, the way he's smiling, the way he's conducting himself in training at the moment in AFCON, it's like he's got a brand new player. A bit of a difficult one for Arteta in the sense that, is he putting him in the shop window, or is he giving him one last hurrah between now and the end of the season? Maybe a win-win for Arsenal Football Club. We'll have to wait and see, because if he does leave, there are questions as to whether or not we need to bring in a replacement, because if Martinelli, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe were to get injured throughout next season, we need to make sure we've got that quality and depth. But absolutely top performance from Nicola Pepe yesterday. Impact substitute, just absolutely wow. I want to see more of it moving forwards. And we'll go through some of the key players from the fixture in a later part of the video as well. But up next, we've got statistics and tactics. And one thing that I do want to touch on before we start talking about the statistics from the game is over the last sort of 2 or 3 games, for anyone that genuinely sort of watches YouTube from time to time, you will have noticed a lot of people speaking about a formation change, a system change for Arsenal Football Club. And we've highlighted this in previous videos. I think in our last video, we spoke about how there were bunches of 3 on the left and the right-hand side. Not quite the same in this game. Cedric and Kieran Tierney not as advanced as we've seen them in the last few games. However, what we have seen is we've seen Thomas Partey take up more of a sort of deeper pivot role as a singular individual, as opposed to a double pivot, which is what we've seen with Xhaka in the past. What we're starting to see, and we'll highlight this in our key player section, is we're starting to see Xhaka in more of an advanced left-sided role, and he's kind of doubling up with either Smith-Rowe or Martinelli in this occasion. Or on the right-hand side, we're seeing Odegaard double up with Saka. So very similar to the way Manchester City play, and also that 4-3-3 system as well. So it does look like Arteta is slowly, now that he's got his team, now that he's built this team with his players, he's slowly looking to transition into that 4-3-3 formation. And very much like City, who last season as well as this season haven't really played with a recognised striker. They play football very wide. And again, this heat map for the game against Wolves, likewise the last 2 games, very deep red on either the right and the left-hand side. So no surprises there. And we're starting to play some of the best football that I've seen Arsenal play in years and years and years. Now, if we compare this to Wolves in terms of their passing shape and their heat map, they spent long spells without the ball, especially in the first half and towards the end of the second half. And we can see here that their left wing, right wing, as well as wing backs were really pushed back because of the doubling up out wide and not utilising our fullbacks for a change. So Wolves were really pushed back in this sense. And it does look like they've tried to go through the middle of the park. There's a big cluster, 26, 9, 28, 10 and 8 there, all in that central part, which is probably one of their strongest areas when you look at the players they've got there in the likes of Neves, Moutinho and also Jimenez. Now, if we have a look at the statistics, one thing that I did want to highlight, because possession come the end of the 90 minutes was fairly equal there or thereabouts. Total shots, 26. Our last game, Arsenal had 24 shots. That's a total of 50 shots, not on target, 50 shots in general over 2 games. Arsenal are starting to create a ridiculous amount of chances. And as we've highlighted in these videos in the past, Arsenal are absolutely screaming out for a clinical striker. And funnily enough, Lacazette against Wolves yesterday had the most shots in any game he's ever featured in for Arsenal Football Club. So that speaks for itself. And if we do manage to get a clinical striker in the summer, whether or not Lacazette stays, whether he gets his 1-year extension, whether he leaves, whatever the situation, we need a striker. I'm not saying that we would have won the game yesterday by 3, 4, 5 goals. That's not the case. But it puts us in a much better position to control games and be a little bit more comfortable. Going through the rest of the stats there, no real surprises. Funnily enough, after speaking about clinical strikers, Arsenal only had just the 5 chances on target. There were lots of opportunities where I imagine those chances were counted as shots, where there were blocks, didn't really reach the goalkeeper. Corners, Arsenal typically tend to have quite high volume in corners. Not so much the case this time around. Foul count, fairly equal. Generally speaking, there was a lot of quality all over the park in this game. Now, some of the key moments that I like to highlight in each of these videos, I'd say were just the goals, really. There were no other sort of big sort of moments in the game. There was a foul early doors, which was brushed aside pretty quickly from VAR, and Wolves also scored a goal from a cross, which was also ruled out for offside fairly early doors as well. Both of which I think were the right calls. Not really any controversy for a change in an Arsenal game. It feels like a long time since I've said that. Now, speaking of things that we've put in the past, Gabriel in picture number 1 here. I wish I could have taken a bit more of a closer picture. It just wouldn't have been clear enough for you to see. But the reason I've wanted to highlight this is last season and in many previous seasons, generally speaking, Arsenal were making, I don't know, somewhere between 3 and 6 mistakes per season that were leading to goals that were then effectively making us drop points. And it seems to be something that Arsenal have put behind them, nowhere near as many mistakes as we've had in past seasons. And this was the first in a very long time. It doesn't appear that Gabriel looks up before making the pass. The pass itself is fairly sloppy. It's not directly to Ramsdale, and Ben White, who you can see in picture number 1, is closest to Hwang. Is there a bit of a conversation to be had that Ben White maybe should have been tracking back better? Gabriel's pass should have been better. Thankfully, we can look back at this moment knowing that we've won the game, and Gabriel won't be kicking himself too much now that we've got those all-important 3 points. Now, in picture number 2, it was Pepe's goal. Obviously, he came on as a substitution. Also, Nketiah came on, as we've already spoken about. And it was these 2 players who linked up in this particular move. And it was at a very vital time in the game because it was 1-0 to Wolves at this point. And there was a good, I think, 15 good minutes left on the clock. That's without even including the 6 minutes that were added on at the end. But I'm absolutely so happy for Pepe. This moment was needed. Hopefully he can kick on now. He still had a lot to do when he received the ball. He spun round. He was aware of who was around him, and he managed to put the ball in the back of the net. Wolves have got one of the better defensive records in the Premier League. And then finally, picture number 3, Lacazette. A lot of criticism recently for not being clinical, a lot of criticism for not scoring goals at really big times in games during this season and at a time where we really, really needed it. And although I would have been happy with a point given the circumstances of this particular fixture, Lacazette came big. I think it might have been given as an own goal. It looked like it probably would have been going wide had it not have taken a touch off Sarr, but I don't care. And I'm sure a lot of you Gooners don't care either. But you could see what it meant to him. You could see what it meant to these players as well. The celebrations afterwards were absolutely fantastic. Not that it has anything to do with Ruben Neves's comments after the last time he played. I'm sure it wouldn't have been. And funnily enough, you can just see here what it means to the likes of Aaron Ramsdale with the picture in the bottom right-hand corner. Did he purposely run past Neves celebrating like that? Who knows? But we can also see here in the bottom left-hand corner what it means to Lacazette, Captain Laka. He's been absolutely huge since taking on that armband and stepping up to the plate for the Arsenal. Okie dokie, in this next section, I want to highlight some key players. And I think yesterday, our midfield was absolutely phenomenal. I think from around about sort of December onwards, these three that you can see on screen right now, Partey, Xhaka and Odegaard, have been absolutely phenomenal. The relationship and the bond that these three are building is just great. Thomas Partey, a player that has faced criticism because he came to the Premier League. There were questions over to whether or not he was going to adapt. And that Man City game, he seems to really have kicked on since then. What an absolute warrior he was again in this game against Wolves. And we can see here more clearly now the type of system that Arteta is starting to implement, that 4-3-3. So if you look at Thomas Partey's heat map, you can say he's very central. He does get about on the left and the right-hand side as well. He does come deep, spend a lot of time in the opposition's half against Wolves at the Emirates as well. So no stranger to getting forward, making passes and screaming that ball over the bar and into space when he needs to. But 89% passing accuracy, which is just what you want from your midfield player. 3 key passes and 3 successful dribbles. So he is coming on leaps and bounds, and I cannot wait to see what he's going to offer Arsenal next season. Now, a player that splits opinion, Granit Xhaka. I'm not his biggest fan. I'm quick to criticise him when he doesn't do well. I'm quick to criticise him when he makes big mistakes, mainly on his side of discipline. But what we have to appreciate is that when a player plays well, we also have to give him praise. And I'm telling you now, the relationship that he has built with Thomas Partey over the last 2 months, Xhaka has been dropping consistent 7 out of 10s minimum over the last 2 months when he's partnered with Thomas Partey. And no one can argue with that. And if we look at his stats, 2 key passes, 2 successful dribbles, 3 tackles, winning 6 duels. He was an absolute monster yesterday. And we can see here from his heat map that he used to play that role where when Arsenal were in possession and pushing forward, that he would drop more into that left-back position. But he's taking up more of an advanced left-sided midfield role now, linking up with the left winger or left forward, however you want to see it. And there were occasions where he did get forward and press the ball quite high. So he seems to have found a new role under Arteta. Whether or not he's still at the club next season is a big question. The role does suit him, and I'm starting to see a much better side to Granit Xhaka. I know this is going to split opinion, and I'm prepared to feel it in the comments, so don't you worry. But my man of the match, hands down, Martin Odegaard. I went to go watch him live recently. For those of you who watched my last video, I banged on about it non-stop. But this guy, my man of the match, let me know who yours is down in the comments below. But this guy, honestly, there were people at the start of the season who didn't want Arsenal to sign him. Sign him for 30-odd million pounds, an absolute steal. Real Madrid will be kicking themselves. What he's also done in the last couple of months, he was frozen out. I think at the start of the season, he made a couple of appearances, didn't quite cut the mustard. Then he was frozen out. But since coming back into the side, I think it was around the Manchester United game, this guy has come on leaps and bounds. He did not stop running against Wolves. He really set the tone. He set the pace on and off the ball. 2 key passes, 3 dribbles completed, 4 duels won. Martin Odegaard is only 23 years old. Wow. Just wow. But some other stats to throw at you very, very quickly. Our centre-backs are also very, very key to this system. They had the most touches out of any Arsenal player on the pitch against Wolves. White with 84, Gabriel with 83. White 83% completion rate with his passing, Gabriel 89, and also White completing 3 long balls. I just feel with White, the ball playing ability that this guy has is just absolutely brilliant. He's a dream for players like Saka and Martinelli and midfield as well. There were a number of times yesterday where he tried to knock the ball long and we did get in behind. He is also very, very young. I want to give a quick shout out to Bukayo Saka as well, because he had 6 key passes yesterday and he did not stop running on that right-hand side when linking up with Martin Odegaard. And as I said in my last episode of Arsenal Analysed, the relationship that these two are building on that right-hand side is just beautiful. So as I said, let me know down in the comments below who your man of the match is in this game. And before we finish up today, I've got a number of shout-outs to give in today's episode. For those of you who want to feature in a future Arsenal Analysed video, all you need to do is comment underneath the preview video on what you think the prediction is, and right or wrong, you'll get a shout out on a future video. So we've got History and Footy Lover who went 2-0. We've got Judge at the Law went 1-0. We've got Extraordinaire Creation who went 2-0 or 2-1. I'll give it to you, calling it 2-1. So well done to yourself. John went 1-0. Luca, who got it right last week, unfortunately, he wasn't looking forward to this one. He thought Arsenal were going to lose 2-1, how the tables have turned. Most of the Arsenal here went for a 3-1 win. What I would have done to have that, it would have been a lot more comfortable when watching. Andy went 1-0, Tim went 2-0, and MK Guna went 2-0 for the Arsenal. Most people going for an Arsenal win, only the one getting it right. I went for a 1-0 win myself. So thank you very much for getting involved in the comment section. But that is going to about wrap things up for today. This Sunday, I will hopefully finally be bringing you the very first podcast on the channel in hopefully a long running series. So do please keep an eye out for that. And as already mentioned, drop a like on today's video if you have enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. I'm aiming for 1,200 subs, and I'd be very grateful if you could subscribe to the channel. I hope you have enjoyed. For now, I'm JC. Stay safe. Take care.